Hello everyone, my name is Sarang and hope you're all doing great. So in this video we're going to learn how to use gRPC with Spring Boot 3 and we'll also look at how to use the Eureka with gRPC. So I've created so many videos about the gRPC but they were all on in the Spring Boot 2. But this is the first video that in this you will see how to use the gRPC with Spring Boot 3. So there is no much difference but only we just have to upgrade the version of the gRPC dependency in the Spring Boot microservice. Okay, and also I'm going to show you how you can use the Eureka with the gRPC in this video. And if you haven't checked the video, you can go to the gRPC playlist. So here's the video that I've created so far. So the first video is about the gRPC client and server microservices. It is in the Spring Boot 2. So this is the single video that you need to watch if in order to understand about the gRPC in the Spring Boot, and it has all the four RPC types implemented. One is unary, second is server streaming, third is client streaming, and the fourth is bidirectional streaming. And if you want to know how to secure the gRPC connection with SSL TLS, so this is the video that you need to watch. And this is one of the this is one of the use case that I've covered, that how you can use the file upload using the gRPC client streaming. Okay, and the fourth one is how to use the gRPC in a reactive way in a mono and flux. And the fourth one is to how to include or implement the authentication layer in the gRPC microservices. And the four is the best practices that everyone follows when they implement this um, um, for the error handling in the gRPC microservice. So you can watch all of this video and increase your knowledge in the gRPC Spring Boot area. And in this video we're going to cover the Spring Boot 3 uh, way to create the gRPC microservice. So just wanted to quickly show you the dependencies here. So I have the gRPC server microservice. So it has this dependency which I have used in all of these videos, which is nothing but net devh. And in this I'm using the version 3.0.0 release. And in the previous videos I have used the version which is lower than 3.0.0, and this is the latest one. And I'm also using the protolib, which is nothing but this project, and this project consists of one proto file. In this file I have added the model, or you can say a message of type book. It has book id, title, price, pages, and the author id. And I have also added another model with the name called author, and it has author id, first name, last name, gender, and book id. Okay, and this proto file will be generating the Java classes in this package com sarangdevproblems.proto. In this package you will see all the classes getting generated, and here is one of the service with the name book author service, and it has one RPC type, get author, which accepts an author and returns the author back. So in the request we'll give the author ID in this author object, and it will return that particular author object in response, which will have the author first name, last name, gender, and the book id. Okay, so the same use case I have covered in this video as well. I have covered all the four RPC type in this video, but in this I'll cover only a single one, and will focus more on the Eureka ones once I finish the implementation. So in the first implementation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to communicate the gRPC client and the server. So I'm gonna make this two microservice to talk to each other. And in the second implementation we will use the Eureka, so that the gRPC client don't connect with the server directly. It will connect with the Eureka first, and then it will take the information of the gRPC server and try to get a response from there. So if you're not using the Eureka, what would happen is in the gRPC client service you have to write the configuration like this. You have to hard code the server information. So I'm writing gRPC server and address. The address will be like this: static localhost and the port name, and we'll write the negotiation type will be plain text. So as you can see here, without Eureka you have to hard code the host and the port, but once you add in the Eureka you don't have to hard code anything. You just have to write discovery, okay, and add one more slash over here and write the service name, which is gRPC server. So this is what you need to do in your client application once you enable the Eureka in your architecture. but since we don't have now, in the first implementation will not add the Eureka, in the second one we'll add it. So I'll keep it as a static localhost. So now let's start the implementation. So as I showed you that there are two major dependencies. One is the server itself, and the second is the protolib in the gRPC server application. Okay, and here I have empty src for now. I just have a main class, and I'm also going to create a package with the name called service. Okay, and I'm going to give the name of this service first, book author service. Okay, so I'll just add it here, and I will extend the impl class over here, book author impl base class. Okay, and I will name this class as a gRPC service. Okay, so the one thing to note over here is that this class is generated in this particular project, the protolib. So once you write your proto file, what you need to do is you have to come to your terminal and go to the protolib here and execute the mvm clean compile command. So this particular command will basically it in the compile command, this particular plugin will be triggered. So I in this protolib I have this plugin called protobuf maven plugin. So it has this proto c compiler and also has this grpc java generator. Okay, so it will by default look at this proto directory, and it will basically scan all the proto files and generate the code for it. And these are the dependency I have it in this protolib project. So one is the gRPC stub, the second one is the protobuf, and the third one is the annotation API. So you need to add all of this, and once you add this, you basically get the generated code over here under the generated source directory. So here you can see that all your models are getting generated, the author and books, and also the gRPC methods are getting generated here. So I had a one method called get author. So there would be a method for that with the same name here, get author. Okay, so now this particular method I need to implement in the server. So I'm at the server application. Okay, now I will try to look at the override methods. I see here get author. Okay, so I need to get author from the database, but I am not going to configure the database. So I am going to create a temp database over here. Okay, and I'm gonna call this method get author. I'll try to stream it and then filter the author, and here I'm going to take author dot get author ID, which should be equal to the request get author ID. Okay, so in the request we'll get the author. From the in that I'm accessing the author ID. As you know, in the profile I have the author coming in the request, so that author will have an author ID. So I'm taking that one, and after filtering I will find the author, give me an optional, and then I'll write if present. Then what you need to do is use the response observer on next method to send the response to the client. And once we send the response, we have to invoke this onCompleted method. Okay, so that's all. We have implemented the one of the RPC method called get author on the server side, right? Now on the client side, we need to invoke this method, correct? So let's see how to invoke this method from the client side. So for that we have this client application. So here again I'm gonna create a new package with the name called controller, and I would require a package with the name called service. Okay, so let's first implement the controller. So I have this controller with the name called book author controller. Okay, so in this controller what I'm going to do is first let me also create a service first. So the service name is book author client service. Okay, so in this service what I'm going to do is first I'm going to mark this class as a Spring Boot service, and then I'm going to use the gRPC annotation. In that I'm going to give a name of the server, which is gRPC server. Okay, so make sure this name matches with this particular name which you have added over here as a gRPC server. Okay, so once you have that same name, what you need to do is you need to import one class with the name called book author grpc dot. You need to select one stub. So I'm going to select the blocking stub. Okay, so this is a synchronous client which will connect with this grpc server and invoke this get author method over here. Okay, I think I have made a mistake, so this only should be a double equal. And once I have created the client, what I need to do is I will create a function, and this will basically return the map of descriptor. So I'll tell you why we need this descriptor here. So I need descriptor dot file descriptor and then object. Okay, I don't want to create a JSON. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leverage this classes to create a readable response, because proto is not readable, the proto format, and the JSON is the readable one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to return the map to the client, or the user who's invoking this particular method or API. Okay, so in the controller we'll create an API which will take the author ID and call this get author method, and this get author method will create a new author using this new builder, and then it will set the author ID. So once this author ID is there, it will create an author. Okay, and then this author will need to be passed over here. So I think there should be an author request. No, I think we are good. Okay, so this is okay. I need to call the build method. Okay, so once it's done, I'm going to use the client dot get author method and pass the author here which I have created. In return, I will again get a author from the server. Correct. So I will write response. So this line will connect, basically it will connect with the gRPC server and invoke the get author method, and then I need to return the response dot get all fields. Okay, so let's see why this is not working. So this is saying that I have imported the wrong file descriptor maybe, so I need to remove this. Just 1 second. So file descriptor and object. Okay, so yeah, that was a import issues, but now this is resolved. So this will basically take the author, convert it to a format called map file descriptor and the object. Okay, which is the readable format only, and we need to invoke this method. So what we're going to do is we're going to create one controller method. Okay, so we're going to write this as a rest controller. Once we have marked this as a rest controller, I'm gonna um, basically auto inject or auto wire the book author client service. Book author client service, I'm gonna write it like this. I want to do the construction in injection, so it's better to write it manually. So I'm gonna write book author client service. I'm gonna write this and this. Okay, so this is done, and I'm gonna create one method which will be invoked when user is calling the get mapping API, which will have this particular route. So it will take one path param as the author ID, and this will basically return the descriptor. So this should be file descriptor, and this will be object, and get author. This will have the path variable as a string ID, and this will return the book author service dot get author, and I need to pass the ID. Okay, so I need to convert this, so I will write integer dot parse int to convert to the integer. Okay, so I think I have again missed the wrong one, so I think this is the one. Okay, so very simple. So I will make a REST API call with this particular route, and I will pass the author ID. This will internally make a call to the gRPC server, this application, and this will basically invoke this get author method, take the author information based on the author ID and give back to that client. Okay, now make sure to add this configuration because this client needs to know where the server is. And in the second implementation, when we are using Eureka, we will remove this local host and we will basically not hard code the host and path, sorry, host and port. But now we have to do that. But okay, so now for quickly demonstration, what I'm going to do is first run this mvm clean package and also run the mvm clean package for the client. Okay, now I'm gonna quickly start the application by making the jar up. So this should be java grpc server. Okay, as you can see that the grpc server is up. It has one server, it has one service registered, book author service. And I'm gonna do the same, java hyphen jar target, and this will be grpc client. Okay, so it has started the tomcat because this is an rest application, the grpc client, which internally make calls to the grpc server. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a curl request, curl http local host 8081, and I'm going to write author slash one. I'm going to pass it to a json. Okay, so I got the response from the grpc server. Correct. So I am making a call to this grpc client, and which internally makes call to this grpc server application. Okay, let's try out with a different author. I'm gonna write it like 2. I got a different one. Let's try it with the 3. I'm getting a different one. Okay, so this integration between the client and server is done successfully. Now we're gonna make the Eureka server up. Okay, so let's quickly look at this configuration of the Eureka server. So here in I just have one class, and I have enabled the use this annotation to enable the Eureka server. And this application YAML has instance which tells about the host. I'm trying to prefer IP address for registering, and to get the status and health check we'll use this particular endpoints. I don't have actuator set up now, but you can do that if you want. And I am setting that the lease expiration duration in second is 30. That is by default. The client, whoever is getting registered to the Eureka, has to send an heartbeat, so they have to send the heartbeat for each 30 seconds. So they need to do that. So that's the configuration for this. And I don't want this application, the Eureka server, to connect with Eureka server because this itself in Eureka server, correct? And since it's a Eureka server, I don't want to fetch any registry given a default zone as this particular URL. So on that particular URL, the Eureka will be up, and I am enabling the self preservation as false because I don't want the client to get deregistered if they are not sending the heartbeat. Okay, so these are the typical Eureka setup that we do when we are working with the Eureka. But you can definitely go through the documentation and learn more about this. So now let's register this gRPC server with the Eureka server. So for doing that, we need an dependency of the Eureka client. So I already have that. So I'm gonna copy it from here and paste the dependency like this. And before doing anything, I just have to go to this main application and enable the discovery client. Okay, and then I need to start writing the Eureka configuration that will help to connect this gRPC server with the Eureka server. Okay, so now to do that, I need to write Eureka, and then I have to inform about the instance that will prefer the IP address way of registration. And then as a client, it needs to register with Eureka. So I'll make this as true, and I don't want to fetch any information from the Eureka, so I'll make the registry as false. We will make this registry as true in the case of the gRPC client, and I will tell you why. And after that, we need a service URL. Okay, and the default zone is http localhost 8761 Eureka slash. Okay, so this is the configuration of the Eureka that will help this gRPC server to connect with the Eureka server. Now I need to write the same configuration in the gRPC client. So I'm here in the resources folder, application YAML. So I'll just copy paste this, and I have to make sure that I have to make the fetch registry as true and the register with Eureka as false. And the reason is I don't want the gRPC client to connect with Eureka. I want the client to fetch the information of all the servers which are registered with the Eureka. In that way, I can connect with the gRPC server which is registered with the Eureka. Okay, so here, since we are going to use the Eureka here, so I'm going to make it as discovery and add one more slash and remove this hard-coded host and post port, sorry, and here I need to write this gRPC server with this name. This gRPC server application will be registered with the Eureka. So I'm just writing down this name so that the client will fetch all the information of the server registered with the Eureka and connect with one of them, which is the gRPC server. Okay, so in the client also I need to enable that discovery client, enable discovery client, but I don't have that dependency. I have added in the server application. I also need to add that in the client one. So I'm gonna do that same and then go back to this main class and write this annotation. So once that is done, I need to come back to this server application and add the dependency with the name called Spring Boot Starter Web, because this will help to connect with the Eureka. So make sure that you add this web dependency as well. So once we have added all the required things, what I'm going to do is first build the jar of the Eureka application, Eureka server 1. Okay, now I need to build the same for the gRPC client and then same for the gRPC server. Okay, now I'm gonna start the Eureka server first. Okay, I'm going to go to this browser and type the local host 8761, and this is the UI of the Eureka server. As you can see, there are no application registered yet, and we'll register one gRPC server. So I will execute the jar of the gRPC server now. Okay, so now if we refresh this, it has registered the gRPC server application, and I will also try to you know fetch all the server information in this gRPC client. So this will also become, one entry will come for the gRPC client as well. So this is the client. Okay, so as you know, so only we have registered the server, not the client. So as you know, that entry will not come. So that will only fetch the information from the registry, as you remember. So I will quickly show that configuration. As you might already know this, okay, it is false. So it will not connect, but it will fetch the server information. And one of the server information is this gRPC server. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute the curl command. Okay, so I think I have to write that curl um, localhost 8081 author /1 and then JQ. So now I am connecting with this on the localhost 8081. I have this client running, and which is serving this particular resource. And once I hit this, the client will connect with the Eureka server to fetch the server information and then connect with the server to get the response. Okay, as you can see, it has given me the response back. So now this is the second implementation that we have done with Eureka. Okay, as you can see, I'm getting the response consistently here. So the first implementation was without Eureka, and now the second one is with Eureka. So this implementation is completed here, and hope you like the video. And if you like it, please click the like button, and if you're new to this channel, subscribe. And if you wanted to share, you can share this video to anyone who wants to learn about gRPC with Spring Boot 3 and the Eureka implementation. Okay, and thank you so much.